5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of Endzone to Endzone. Like I said in episode 1, this is my podcast in which I discuss everything NFL. During the season, off season, during the weekend, during the weekday, regardless of what the case is, I talk about the biggest topics of the week. So sometimes there's going to be a lot, and sometimes there might not be a lot. It totally depends on what the NFL world wants to give us. Today, we got quite a few. I would have to say more than the episode 1, but not too much where you guys are going to have to be sitting there bored off your head listening to me talk about NFL topics if you're not into it. So let's get started. So this week we had a very big event that occurred in the NFL world, which is the time in which the NFL owners, they all come and they discuss about rule changes, about rule amendments, and just about where they could kind of point the league towards to better the league for their players, for their bottom line, for the fans, that type of deal. So obviously a big thing that was going to be discussed during this moment was the whole thing about reviewing or not being to be able to review or not to review such things as passing interference or non-calls and stuff. That was like the big topic on whether the NFL was going to accept that or not. And obviously, guys, this comes from the fact that the NFL, just last year, not really last year, just about 2 months ago, the NFL had a very controversial moment, right? Like we all saw it. It was in the NFC Championship game of the New Orleans Saints versus the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC Championship. And during this moment, it was third down for the Saints, and they threw the ball. They were in the red zone of the Rams, and they threw the ball. And the Rams defender clearly did not see the ball coming and just goes and lays out the Saints wide receiver. Not only does he lay him out, he hits him before the ball gets there. And he helmets the guy. So, seeing this, if any of you guys have been watching the NFL for the past 2 or 3 years, right? They've been trying to crack down on this helmet-to-helmet thing, hit on defensive receiver type of BS. And the Rams defender, who I will not name, one, because I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but two, because for anybody who may feel a bias because they know the guy or something, I just won't say it, because if I don't, then you don't know who it is. All you need to know is the guy lays him out before the ball gets there, and there were 2 refs in that vicinity, one in front of the hit and one behind the hit, and in which there was clear evidence that one of the refs made a reach for the flag while the other one signaled to him not to do it, and they called it an incomplete pass. This obviously became a very, very shadowy part of last year's NFL season, because literally the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl after the Rams won this game, all everyone talked about was how the Saints got screwed. Now, you have obviously some people who are like, oh, the Saints didn't because they didn't do enough to win. And some, were like, no, they got screwed because that was clearly a call that should have been made, and they didn't because the NFL doesn't want the Saints to be there because the Rams are a better storyline, aka expansion team. Not really expansion, but returning expansion-ish team. And also because the coach is like the new hot shit with the offensive style in Sean McVay and the Rams offense. So I'm not going to delve deep into that because that's old news. But essentially, that was one of the big topics that was going to be discussed during this NFL meeting. Now, there were almost a dozen of changes that occurred after the meeting adjourned, with some rule amendments and some creative rules. In which, looking at it, for me overall, I think it's a positive. So let me go over that with you guys so that, if you guys don't want to read it, you guys can kind of get the gist of it as well. One of the rules that was it wasn't really amended, but it was made permanent, was the kickoff rules of last year. So as you guys know, last year the NFL decided to install new rules during the kickoff that the players are not allowed to get a head start run before the kick actually happens. So now the players actually have to wait till the kicker kicks the ball. Then not only that, there cannot be any sort of contact for 10 yards during kickoffs. So defenders and blockers cannot contact each other for 10 yards at least, which is a buffering so that players don't get hurt on blindside blocks or big blocks and that type of stuff. I liked it. It's making it safer, because for a person who's paid attention to the NFL, I hear about all those stories about players who are nobodies, and the way that they are allowed to make a name for themselves is through special teams. AKA, the biggest example would be Terrell Davis. Now, if you guys don't know Terrell Davis' story, he had no chance, and what he did to get noticed was he laid out a guy during a kickoff, which made the team kind of look at him and keep him. So the NFL is trying to avoid those things, because stuff like that, you don't want to see guys getting hurt like that. Now, also the rule, there is a rule that during the onside kick, the kicking team cannot run, right? The kicking team cannot move until the ball has been kicked and I think has passed about like 5 or 10 yards. Then they could exchange contact, because the whole idea is that if onside kicks, if you guys go and watch a lot of the old ones, man, people were just getting killed. Sometimes the guy who's trying to catch the ball would jump to catch it, and he gets laid out extremely hard. That is in itself very dangerous. So I'm totally for this rule keeping of the new kickoff rules. Now, the next rule is that the NFL is updating the blindside block rule. The old blindside block rule, which was kind of amended about like a year or two ago or something like that. I can't remember the exact time, but it was amended that wouldn't allow players to essentially hit a guy, lay him out with his shoulder, arm, head, lay out a guy on like the side of the guy's body. They wouldn't allow that anymore, or behind him, right? Because obviously behind would be clipping, but there was really no rule against the side. So they created the blindside block rule, which is probably called something else, but it's kind of known as like the blindside block rule. Their players are not allowed to essentially block players on the side. So the NFL this year has changed it that all blindside blocks are illegal now, even if it happens in front of the defender. Meaning, as long as the defender has his attention not towards the incoming block, it is counted as illegal. Which it reminds me of the Juju Smith-Schuster block on Vontaze Burfict. Juju Smith was directly in front of Vontaze. Vontaze was looking at Le'Veon Bell, and Juju stopped, lowered his shoulder, and decked Vontaze, and Vontaze got hurt. So the whole idea is that even though defenders are facing, and a defender and a blocker are facing each other, if the defender's attention is not to that blocker, it is now legal. That's a penalty. I believe like on Tuesday or something like that, Jamal Adams had made a statement talking about how these blindside blocks are getting crazy, you know, that they should just let these guys play football. But I laugh about it because I'm like, Jamal, to the New York Jets safety Jamal Adams, like right now you're only cool with that. I hope that someone decks you so that you will understand why they took their making that block illegal, because you know, you need to know that they're trying to help you, not, you know, make things worse. That rule is all for the defense, man, you know. And if I'm a defensive player in the league, I look at that and I say thank you. Because as defenders, your job is to get the ball carrier, not you know, pay attention to a block that's coming that a guy intentionally tries to lay you out. Because face it, offensive players, they don't get the chance to hit defensive players much. So when that opportunity comes, they kind of like embrace it and enjoy it. And so it hurts them. And I believe this is definitely a win-win situation, because an offensive player can be a defensive player at the moment the ball is like intercepted or there's a fumble recovery. So it's a good thing. That's a very good rule. Now, for the next rule, there's this little weird amendment that they made to the double flag enforcement, where the old rule was, you know, if there's an interception and there's two flags that are called that are offsetting, then they will place the ball where the interception happened or where the turnover happened. But if the turnover happens, so they're changing it now, that if the turnover happens and there are two flags that are thrown that are offsetting penalties, the one that benefits the defense that got the turnover, that's where the ball is going to be placed. So they're kind of making it where, hey, you know, because there's two offsetting penalties, the team who has the ball technically is the defense. So let's give them the benefit rather than just say, oh, back to wherever the turnover happened, which is a good thing. It kind of again helps out the defense. Okay. Now here's one that I like that has been changed, is the penalty yards after touchdowns. So typically when there are flags that are thrown after a touchdown is scored, typically they add those yardage that are accepted from the penalty to the kickoff, right? So typically when they add it, then it just kind of turns into a touchback just about every time. Well, the NFL decided that they're going to change it and give the touchdown scoring team the choice of either applying it to the field goal kick or the 2-point conversion, which is pretty cool, because one, I always thought it was that way. In a way, you know, I always thought that should be possible, because first of all, it's not the team's fault that the other team made a fuck up and got flagged. So it makes teams and players have to play better, you know, and not get penalized after touchdowns, right? Which stops things like after a touchdown fights. Like, that is a big thing. And so I like it. I think it's great. I think that giving the touchdown scoring team, the opportunity to apply to a field goal is amazing, because come on guys, like, we all know now how big a difference it makes when they move the kickers back to like the 35-yard line to kick or something like that, right? It's a big difference. So rather than like a 35-yard kick or whatever, a 30-yard kick is way better. So I like that rule. I like that rule fix. It's pretty good. And I think that it's definitely going to work out for the NFL. There's a new rule. Well, it's not really new. Again, it's more like an amendment to the rule, to how the referees can eject players. Now, as you guys know, the original rule is that the refs are allowed to eject players based on non-football moves. So stuff like fights, stuff like taunting, stuff like throwing flags at referees, aka Travis Kelce, stuff like that. The refs were allowed to throw players out. But this time, the NFL is now putting the rule that refs are allowed to essentially kick out players for making illegal, malicious football moves. So like hit on defensive receiver, diving on the quarterbacks as they slide, helmet to helmet, malicious illegal blocks. Anything that is a malicious football move, the NFL referees will now reserve the power to eject players regardless of whether it's a first hit, a third hit, regardless. They now hold that power. I think this rule is very bad in a way. Now, before you guys get on my ass about it, this is what I mean. We all know that the really good players, they don't get kicked out. But the very nobody known players, there's no room for that, right? So this is the exact example. I believe it was a Niners and Colts game or something like that, but it was some kind of game last year that happened, and in which the safety for that team dove on the quarterback as the quarterback was sliding. He hit him and he got ejected for it. Is it illegal? Yes, it's a flag. It's an unnecessary roughness flag. Is it a non-football move? No. It's a very football move, right? So the refs ejected him out of the game. But when you look at the Rams versus the Vikings, where Aaron Donald grabbed Kirk Cousins on the shoulders, spun around, and threw him on the ground really hard, kind of like throwing throwing trash away. It looked like he was spinning around to throw trash away, right? So he spun around, he grabbed Kirk Cousins by the shoulder pads, spun him around, and chucked him away really hard. And Kirk Cousins landed on his head on the ground really hard, and Kirk Cousins rolled over. Now, thank God Kirk Cousins didn't get hurt. But the whole point was it looked very malicious. It's a completely legal football move. It's legal. It's not illegal, but it's legal, but it is very malicious because he definitely was pissed off. He definitely was did not care about Kirk Cousins' safety at that point, because he could have just wrapped him, spun around, and dropped him like how many other players do, or fall down with him, right? Instead, he spun around, threw him like a rag doll on the ground really hard on his head. So it's very malicious, but it's not a flag. Well, if that was Tom Brady and that defensive end was anybody other than Aaron Donald, that guy would have got ejected for that. There would have been a penalty and he would have got ejected for that. I don't care if you guys don't believe me. I'm pretty sure 90% of people wouldn't believe me on that. So I just don't like that the refs are given that, because they're very subjective to who they kind of let off, right? It's the whole thing about Deion Sanders saying, you're not gonna kick me out. I'm a moneymaker. It's that thing. So I don't really like that they're giving the refs that much power, because it's a football move. Like, just think about that. Now, for the big one that everybody was waiting for. The NFL has almost unanimously agreed to creating that rule. The NFL has now approved for this coming up year, the teams can review non-calls and review offensive and defensive passing interference calls. Now, this is the catch. If the teams want to do it outside of the 2-minute warning, they have to use one of their challenge flags. But then the moment it falls in under 2-minute warning, that is reserved for the booth to challenge. So they decided that they added those onto challenges for teams, because face it, they've challenged that Saints Rams one, it definitely was pass interference, hit on defensive receiver, and helmet to helmet. So they definitely would have gotten that one fixed. Now, they obviously used the situation in the Rams and Patriots Super Bowl, this one that just happened, where the Rams receiver was trying to make a catch, and then the Patriots defender pulled his arm away at the last second and made it where he couldn't catch the ball. So in real time, it looked like a great defense by the defender, but when they show the replay, you can see that what the defender did was the defender grabbed the receiver's arm and pulled it out of the way. So that in itself is a passing interference, which puts the Rams on like the 1-yard line. So it's gonna be interesting how they work. This is definitely an experimental year for that rule, but contrary to what a lot of people are saying, where they're like, oh, this is bad, this is a bad idea, why would you do that? You're just going to make the games longer. I beg to differ. I like this rule. I think this is a great addition to the challenge rule. The reason why I think it's great is because you still would have to use up one of your challenges. Now, are you really going to use up one of your challenges on a pass interference that is on like a 10-yard gain? No, you're not. You're probably going to save it and use it on like a Hail Mary throw. Okay, where you can say, hey, there was no passing interference. That was just both guys were pushing each other, so there's no passing interference. Or say you're trying to make a play and the guy does pass interference and they don't call it. Well, you can say, look, he did. So contrary to people who think that this rule is going to be ridiculous, I think it's going to be great. I think that giving teams that opportunity is what it's all about. Just the fact that they know that they can use it for that, it makes everyone play around it. That's the whole point of putting that rule in. Yes, you can't expect perfection out of your players, but what you can expect is that they play fair. Right? And if there's a rule like this that makes you go say, hey, don't fuck up, play fair, don't be stupid, don't make dumb moves, then by all means, put it in. And if we're looking at it saying in money wise, right, these guys getting paid millions to play a sport, they better be fucking perfect at it. Okay? Because you know what? They could be playing this sport for $10. Now they can complain about that, but they're getting paid millions, which means I want to see a clean game. I want to see you play it right. I don't want to see some dumb, cheapy, passing interference that, you know, the players are like, well, I can't prevent that. Oh, yeah, you can. It's called, why don't you just give up on the play then? Understand that you're beat instead of trying to cheat. So it's that whole thing. I like it. I don't care if others don't like it, because I think that making rules like this, it makes it where players will play better. They will play more efficient. And again, you're not going to get teams who are going to be like, oh yeah, first quarter a 10-yard pass interference. Oh, I got to challenge that. No, it's not going to happen. People act like they're going to be challenged. They got 2 challenges. Okay, like you got 2 challenges. That's it. Are you really going to waste one of them on a cheapio little pass interference? Get out of here. It's not going to happen. So that's pretty much it for the rules. Now I think there were some other small minor ones, but I didn't really look at those. I looked more at the bigger ones that were going to impact the game really, really big. And so I only took about 6 or 7 rules, which for me, it's fine by me. Now on to the second topic, in which was a real big topic just for this week, and since the Cardinals made a coaching change. Whether or not the Cardinals are going to be trading Josh Rosen. This rumor spurred because of the fact that the Cardinals signed their coach, Cliff Kingsbury, who at one point stated in an interview last year that if he had to pick any quarterback, he would pick Kyler Murray as his quarterback. Then, what egged on this rumor is the fact that both Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury's agent are the same guys. They're the same guy. So it's kind of... Now, I'm not 100% sure if that is confirmed, but that is a rumor that kind of egged on the whole issue of Kyler Murray going to be drafted to the Arizona Cardinals. Thus, the Arizona Cardinals are now going to try and trade away Josh Rosen, who they just drafted last year for their quarterback position. The thing is, according to Joel Klatt, when he showed up on his shows that he does as a special guest, whether it's Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, or it's The Herd with Colin Cowherd, or First Things First with Chris Carter and Nick Wright, or Speak for Yourself with Marcellus and Jason Whitlock, with Marcellus Whitney and Jason Whitlock. He has shown up and he has stated that at first one team was rumored to have offered a second round for Josh Rosen, and that there are actually 3 teams that are very interested in Josh Rosen, which are the Patriots, the Giants, and the Chargers. Granted, guys, these 3 teams, all these 3 teams have old quarterbacks, and are trying to find the new quarterback to be the future of that team. Now, the only difference is the Patriots, Tom Brady, who has kicked out a quarterback, is still going strong and wants to play till he's 45. So he's turning 42 this year, which would mean he will be on for like another 2 to 3 years. And the Chargers, Phil Rivers, 38, who's had another one of his consistent seasons, and one of his better seasons in the past 10 years. So those 2 guys definitely are still going strong, whilst Eli has definitely declined over the years. All he's done is, since his Super Bowl win, is just declined. And so I'm very sure that the Giants did offer the Cardinals a second round, but it was that news was updated at some point throughout this week that all 3 teams have offered them a second round, but the Cardinals seem to be playing hardball and like they want a first round, which is kind of stupid, because the whole idea is that no one's going to give you what you want because you're trading the guy. And now that you've kind of tattered, like destroyed your relationship together as a team and an organization and a player, he definitely doesn't want to be there. And so why would we want to give you what you want? Just give us what we want. And we're not desperate enough to trade you a first round. That'd just be stupid. So the Cardinals, now we don't know if the Cardinals are doing this because they're trying to get they're really trying to get Josh Rosen out, or we don't know the Giants are just doing this. I mean, the Cardinals just doing this because the Cardinals are trying to trick somebody to trade them a bunch of picks so that they would get number one, and then they get all these picks because they're really not going to draft Kyler Murray. It's just, we don't know yet until the draft day happens. But everyone seems to be leaning towards this whole idea that the Cardinals are going to draft Kyler Murray, and they're just trying. And now I'm looking at it from which team would be a best fit for a guy like Josh Rosen. Looking at it, let's say he does get traded. So looking at which team would be a best fit for him, whether it's the Patriots, the Giants, or the Chargers, and I'm just picking these three because it's been made a fact that these three guys are the teams that they're trying to get him. So I'm not gonna indulge in some kind of what if situation, that, what if all of a sudden the Packers want to trade for him. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna go with the guys that are being offered. Now, for him to go with the Patriots, definitely the positives would be that he's a very intelligent player. So being a very intelligent player, he would be able to understand the system that Josh McDaniels expects out from the quarterback. Being that Josh McDaniels makes the offensive system really freaking easy, so he doesn't ever have to worry about that. 2, Josh Rosen, in his college career, he has dealt with consistent injury. The guy has a very lean body, a very lengthy body frame, so he gets hurt a lot. Now, that was one of the biggest issues that people were saying coming out of the draft for Josh Rosen, is that he's never played a full season in college because he gets hurt at some point. Well, going to the Patriots with an offensive scheme that has protected a 42-year-old man in Tom Brady and an organization that's been able to protect that, you're definitely going to be able to protect your quarterback. They're going to, the way the offense is designed is to make sure that the quarterback stays on his feet. That's the whole point. And I think above and beyond that, that is what the Patriots offense is aimed for. It's not just aimed for, scoring touchdowns or getting yards or paper cutting. It's aimed for one reason. What can we do to ensure that our quarterback will stay healthy, not just for the season, but for the length of his career? Because the quarterback's the most important position. Well, the way you do it is you do it like how the Patriots do it. 3 seconds passes out. 3 seconds passes out. No one is hitting him. He's healthy. The only way he gets hurt is if he takes a freak injury on his own, and that's just the truth. So, if you really think about it, this would be perfect for Josh Rosen because he doesn't have to get hurt. Well, quote unquote hurt. Now, another positive for him to go to the Patriots would be the fact that the Patriots, they have a way of making sure that players who straighten their life out and who are not a-holes that go there, they enjoy success, and they are able to live through that success, especially the quarterback position, right? If Josh Rosen goes there, he's going to have a high chance of success. That's just the truth. Because we just look at it. Matt Castle had success. Brian Hoyer had success. Jimmy Garoppolo had success. Even Ryan Mallett, I believe, who was there for a short time, I think, had success enough where people were willing to trade a good pick for him. And he's not that good. Tom Brady is the guy who has the most success. And so you look at the quarterbacks that the Patriots have taken into their organization. There's been a lot of, for that player, there's been a lot of return for that time being with the Patriots. So if you're Josh Rosen, you want to go there. You want to try to, if you can convince the Cardinals anyhow to take that, you want to go there because there's success waiting there. That is, as long as Bill Belichick and the core guys are there, though. I do have to say that. Now, what will be some negatives? Well, some negatives of going there would definitely come from the fact that you're not going to play for probably another 5 years, because the thing is, Tom Brady's trying to do something that no quarterback's going to be ever able to do in their career. Tom Brady is going to make sure that he's the GOAT, and then extend that to the point where no one is ever going to be able to touch him. Like, if we look at it right now, if Tom Brady was to retire today, 20, 30 years from now, Tom Brady would be considered the GOAT of all sports, above Michael Jordan, above LeBron James, above Joe Montana, above all those guys, above Jerry Rice. He would be considered the GOAT of all sports, because people will just look and say, how does a man play a sport for 20 plus years and remains at the top of that game for 20 plus years? Like, that is what's going to be his mystique 20 years from now. You know, he's just going to go down as that guy who never fell off. That's the whole idea of Tom Brady. So Josh Rosen, you're probably going to be when you're going to start will probably be when you're like 25. Not only that, when you start, you might not have the same players, the same coaches. Heck, you might not even have the same owner by the time you start. So that is a definite big negative, because what you're going in, you're definitely not going to have that going out starting. And that is just a negative, that if you're Josh Rosen and you're his camp and you're going to be like, oh, they're going to trade me there, there's little chance that I'm going to get to enjoy the success that they have right now and be a driving force on it. Another negative will come from the fact that Josh Rosen going there will not be able to be himself. You're not going to get to go over there and speak your mind and say what you say during his draft day when he got drafted number 9 and he got all motor mouth. That's just not going to happen. Bill Belichick is going to shut you up. You're going to understand that when you go to the Patriots, you go there to play the game, to win for the organization. You go there to win Super Bowls. You don't go there to get paid. You don't go there to become a fan favorite. You just go there for one reason. That's to win trophies, and that's the only way. Like, if he goes there and decides to be a motor mouth still and tries to give a piece of his mind, trust him, the Patriots going to trade him quicker than he can blink. Now, the last negative I could think of immediately would be you're not going to get paid. The Patriots are not going to, because the way the Patriots have set forth their success in this modern day era of NFL, you're not going to get success by getting paid. That's just the way that the Patriots run. Tom Brady's entire career, he has never gotten paid the same amount of money as the top 5 quarterbacks. But he's enjoyed more success because the Patriots have more money to spread, to keep players, to bring in players, and to make things happen outside of the quarterback position. Because football is a team game and the Patriots are a team, right? So Josh Rosen's going to have to understand, you're never going to get that $40 million payday per year. That's just not going to happen. So that, it's just one of those things where the benefit is you're going to enjoy, you can potentially enjoy good football and early success. But negatives, I wouldn't say that it's the bad long run, but I would just say it's the unknown. That's the biggest negative. You don't know what is going to happen to the organization 3 years, 5 years from now. The forecasting of the Patriots for Josh Rosen, for a Josh Rosen led Patriots, is unknown, and because of that, it's very scary, for a player. Now, if you go to the Giants, what are some positives? Well, one, the Giants are a huge market team. They will come watch the Giants play, whether they're good or not. Which means you're always going to have fans show up. Two, Eli Manning is pretty much on the back heel of his legs. He's almost falling over dead. So chances are you can actually start halfway through the season. Because if Eli Manning stinks it up for 6 games, 4 games, I guarantee you the fans will start chanting, "We want Rosen." And it's not because Rosen was drafted by the Giants or that he's beloved. It's just the Giants fans are looking at it as, dude, we cannot have another year of this bullshit from an Eli Manning led Giants team. We can't. Saquon's still going good. We can't do this to Saquon and to our team and to our fans. So the Giants. So if you're Josh Rosen, chances are you're going to get a start probably four games into the league, 4 games into the season. Now, also, the Giants are willing to pay you. If you do good for them, they're going to pay you. Not only that, if you, as a quarterback, with the way the Giants have shown for Eli Manning, right? Josh Rosen, if you get us a Super Bowl, you're going to be there forever. Just think about that. That's security. Because the Giants will love you that much. That's how those New York teams are. So there is a huge upside for Josh Rosen, like a really, really big upside. If you have success, you're gonna be there forever. But obviously, there's a ladder, right? But I'll get to that in a bit. The last thing I want to get about positive is that team is young. The Giants pretty much cleaned house of all their old guys, other than Eli. Of all the guys that they look and say, oh, are gonna hate us for making a quarterback switch or something. Boom, Josh Rosen comes in. If you come in to the Giants, who are a relatively young team now, they will be looking for a leader, and you can potentially become that leader. So it's going to be your team, and that's the biggest part. Is because it's your team, you might get a situation like Baker Mayfield. It becomes your team, and they all rally around behind you and your intelligence. So that is a definite positive. Is that for Josh Rosen going to the Giants would be that you are getting to shape that team how you see fit as a player. Now for the latter, right? For the negatives. One negative is the downside, right? If you don't bring them a Super Bowl, chances are they're not going to keep you. Chances are you're going to hit 30 and they're going to kick you out because they're just going to be like, you know what? If you stink it up, you definitely didn't win us a Super Bowl like Eli. That's the only reason why we kept Eli all these years, because he won us 2 Super Bowls. So that's the only reason we kept him. If you don't win that, you're out of here. So chances are you might not last on the Giants until you might be 27, 28, and the Giants will not keep you anymore. That's the bad part of the situation. Another would definitely be from the fact that because there's a really good running back on your team already, the team is going to have to decide whether they're going to pay you, the running back, or one day the receiver or defense. And the biggest issue is that as a team, they have a star running back, and they bring you in. You're going to be expected to either become the leader, so the star running back is going to have to take downs away from his play for you, or you're going to have to do the other. there's going to be a sacrifice. That team is not quarterback eccentric anymore. Matter of the fact, the Giants have never been quarterback centered. Like Eli Manning's career, sure, was he good? Yeah. In the playoffs, he was great. In the regular season, he was good. But the one thing about the Giants was that offense was completely geared. When their success came from being geared behind an extremely balanced run game. A game that made sure that the defenses didn't know whether they were going to pass or run. And so if you're a quarterback coming into that, you're expected to share the ball, to share the wealth. Just make the smart throws. Don't try to become the hero. We're not going to give the ball into your hands and say, "Hey, Josh, we're going to ride and die off of your hands." No. It is, "Hey, Josh, you know what? On this play, maybe we should give it a Saquon instead." It's that idea. So you're definitely going to understand that with the Giants, it's not going to be 100% your team. That's a big time negative to going to the Giants. Lastly, would be from the fact that the Giants, in terms of a coaching staff and an organization right now, they've kind of been a mess. They kind of been, shipping guys in and out, switching coaches, switching GMs, making some dumb moves. And so there really isn't a stability at the front office. And that could spell problems for you as a quarterback, because your job is to lead the men. But if the guys who are above you are playing musical chairs, then who's going to, give you the news? And so it's just one of those things where you're definitely going to go into an organization that has had some really bad turmoil lately, and you don't know if they're going to shape up or not. Lastly, the Chargers. So an immediate positive for Josh Rosen going to the Chargers is, number one, it's at home. The Chargers are an LA team. They're gonna be in LA for the next years because they're already building their stadium there. You went to school UCLA, so home is right there. You probably won't even have to find a new house. You would just go back with your family, find a house near your family, and be done with it. So definitely, the home factor is big for you. Not only that, because Josh Rosen, you're a home kid. That team, there are going to be fans coming to watch you play just because you're the hometown kid, which means the team is going to love you even more. Sure, whether the players love you or not, it's going to be based on the players, but I guarantee you the front office, the owner, the GM, the coaches will look and say, "Hey, this guy is bringing people to watch." And that is a big thing for owners, especially owners, because that's a lot of money that they're going to get. And right now, the Chargers need money because, face it, you go look at their home games. It's garbage. They don't have much fans, and it's the away fans. But if Josh Rosen comes up, if you show up there, you're going to get home fans that are from LA. They're going to be like, "Hey, I was a fan of Josh Rosen already. I'm so glad he's here." So definitely it's going to be a big thing for you. Familiarity, right? That's going to be a big positive. Two, the quarterback has talked about retirement multiple times, but not only that, he has made the statements that he does enjoy coaching his kids and spending time with them. So although he's never won a Super Bowl and stuff, and he still has a lot of fire in him, he does enjoy being a father. And he does enjoy those moments that he gets to spend with them. So you can tell that it's somewhere lingering in his mind. And chances are you might get a start for 2 years. In 1 or 2 years, you might get a start, be the quarterback. Now, what's the benefit of that? Look at your offense. You have a bomb offense. Young receiver, young tight end, young running back, a decent offensive line. But you have weapons all over the place, and you have a very good core on defense. So there's a chance that you're gonna get to play with the best roster available, with a team that is right now trending in the right direction. So that definitely is a positive for you as a player, because you're not going to come in and be like, oh man, like the Giants, where the Giants have nobody but Saquon. They don't have offensive lines. So you're going to get beat up all day. But you look at the Chargers, it's like, oh hey, I got Melvin Gordon, I got Keenan Allen, I got Mike Williams, I got Hunter Henry, I got a decent offensive line, I got a top tier defense. Hey, this is great. Life is great. That is definitely a big positive. Another big positive will come from the fact that the team is loyal. You don't need to win Super Bowls for the team to be loyal to you. You just need to be really good. The Chargers have kept Phillip Rivers his entire career. They had the opportunity to try to get Peyton Manning. They had the opportunity to try to go young and start fresh. Get Marcus Mariota. You go after Jimmy Garoppolo. Draft Baker Mayfield. They had all this opportunity. They had an opportunity to draft you. But they looked and said, no, we are going to keep this man because he battled wars for us, and we want to win him a Super Bowl. Because of that, we're sticking with him. And that's what you have to understand, is there's loyalty. The Chargers organization is loyal to you as a player, not what you achieved as a player. They're loyal to what you represent. And so you're definitely there. That is a definitely big positive, because you don't look at it as, man, if I don't win a Super Bowl, then I have no career here. Like that's definitely a big positive. Now let's get to the negatives. The negatives are this. They are quote unquote an expansion team, right? Not really, but because of that, you're not going to see effective immediately a bunch of fans are going to show up. Fans will pour in over time, but you have to be good for them to pour in. Now, not only that, the organization has never won a Super Bowl, so they don't know how to handle Super Bowl success, and they don't know how to get there. So you're going to have to develop that championship on your own with the guys. Some people say right now, that's stupid, but trust me, it's like this. If you go to work and there's somebody who's there that has started in your position and worked their way to success, they will literally be like, hey, this is what I did. They give you a blueprint that you can kind of mimic. But if you go there with a blank slate and there's nobody there and you're like the guy, man, think about the difference, right? So another negative would be the fact that because there's a lot of young guys, you might not get paid the big contract you want. Okay? If you're a good quarterback, you're not going to get paid that Kirk Cousins contract, because there's a lot of young guys that are going to be getting paid in the next few years. And that's just the truth. Whether it's Joe Bosa, Derwin James, Desmond King, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Melvin Gordon, it doesn't matter. All these young guys are going to get paid at some point. And so you have to understand that as a quarterback being on that team, your payday may not be as beautiful as Jared Goff's payday when it happens. It's just going to be that. Or even Baker Mayfield's, right? You want one of your direct contemporaries. So that definitely is a negative. What is also a negative is the fact that team is not a... That team, yes, are they kind of considered quarterback driven? Sure, they're considered quarterback driven. But they are about having a balanced quarterback driven offense, meaning the quarterback is going to be expected to make a lot of the moves. He's going to be expected to go out there and make a lot of pre-snap calls, make a lot of pre-snap judgments so that he can change it up. Because Rivers did that for them, and they expect that. So as a player, you're going to have to go out there and do that too. you're gonna be that offense is not going to just be, I call this play, you're gonna run it. It's not gonna be that. It's gonna be, I call this play, what you see, whatever you want to do, let's fix it. And so that definitely could be a negative. It could also be a positive, right? But I think the biggest glaring negative, right? The biggest glaring negative about going to the Chargers comes from the fact that you do have the quarterback there. And the team right now wants to rally behind that quarterback and get him a Super Bowl. So as long as that guy keeps coming back, they're going to keep rallying behind him. Chances are you might be in the same situation with Tom Brady. But even worse, right? Because Tom Brady can retire tomorrow and no one's going to say a thing. No one's going to get mad. No one's going to say, "Oh, Josh, you kicked him out." No one's going to say that. Everyone will just say, "You know, Tom did his thing. Congratulations. You totally deserve to get rested." Whereas the Chargers are like, "Rivers, come back. Let's get you a Super Bowl. This team is good one more time." And so that definitely is something you're going to have to deal with. The fact that this team is not your team. Even when he leaves. It's that idea. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl, that's just the truth. So that's probably the biggest issue. If you go into the Chargers, it comes from that. Now, if I'm the Cardinals, I will look to get a trade from either the Patriots or the Chargers. One, their AFC team. You don't have to worry about seeing him until maybe the Super Bowl. And if he never makes it, you never have to worry about it. Two, those two guys' picks are the closest to the second round that you can possibly get. Meaning, they're like, "Hey, we're giving you a second round straight up for him." But instead, you can say, "Look, we'll trade you him, and we'll trade you some more picks or another player. Just give us that first round." They will probably be willing to do it because their picks are practically second rounds. So just think about that. As the Cardinals, that's what I would do. I wouldn't trade to the Giants just because the Giants are not going to give up a first round. Their first round's too high up, and their second rounds are even too high up, and so they're not going to be willing to give that to you. They're going to be real tough on you. But with the Patriots and the Chargers, you definitely will be able to gamble more because both teams picking are very far down the first round and even the second round too. And so you definitely can get more from them than you can from the Giants. So that's a really big topic for this week, guys, because obviously Josh Rosen's literally been there for 1 year and he's a young quarterback, so it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out for them. Maybe the Cardinals are just trying to stir shit up, but I kind of agree with Colin Cowherd on the whole thing. What the Cardinals did here is cannot be repaired. It's unrepairable what they did. They did unreparable damage to their relationship between the Cardinals and Josh Rosen. Like, it's fucked up. So the guy's not gonna, I didn't think that Josh Rosen was the best quarterback coming into his draft, and I thought he did the worst as a quarterback of those four that played. But that doesn't mean he deserves this kind of bullshit. It's just the truth, because this is dumb shit what the Cardinals are doing. So I hope they get him out. I hope he gets to leave, and I hope he gets to go to one of these three teams and enjoy success. All right, guys. Now on to our last segment, which is the retirement segment, right? Because there's been a lot of guys that have been retiring. Last week on episode 1, I talked about Gronk, right? The retirement of Gronk, the GOAT of tight ends. Is he or is he not? That's that whole idea. So this week, for episode 2, we have not one but 2 retirements. Not only that, these 2 guys played for only 2 teams in their careers. Not only that, they were pivotal guys to their first team's success, which is the Green Bay Packers. I think it's actually crazy that both these guys retire at the same time, which are wide receiver Jordy Nelson and offensive tackle TJ Lang. So, as you guys may have known or may not have known, these two guys started their careers in Green Bay. They were both drafted by the Green Bay Packers, and they were both pivotal guys for Green Bay Packers' success throughout their years with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback. Their Super Bowl win both included these guys, and they had their best years with the Green Bay Packers. Now, we'll first go into TJ Lang, because I feel like offensive linemen should deserve a lot of respect. This guy is a one-time Super Bowl champion, a two-time Pro Bowler, but he retired at the age of 31. So he didn't play far deep into his career as an offensive lineman. He also has played almost 100% of his games that he's been able to play. But when he played, he was a very good tackle, especially when he played for Green Bay. He was very good, but he was a very smart player. What do I mean by that? TJ Lang, his position was tackle coming into the draft, but Green Bay needed him to shift to guard. And when he shifted to guard, he still played good. So the guy is definitely a really good offensive lineman. He's to be able to play both positions of tackle and guard and play at a really good rate. Like TJ Lang, if you guys don't believe me that he wasn't good, just go look at one. It might sound silly, but go look at what he's been rated in a lot of his sports games that he's been rated in during his time with Green Bay. Not only that, if you go look at just the Aaron Rodgers statistics when he was there compared to how Aaron Rodgers statistics is when he's not, it's a big difference. The guy got hit less. The guy could drop back more, and the Green Bay Packers had a better run game when he played there. So he definitely is a great player. He's a great lineman. One day he might make it to the Hall of Fame. One day, and I don't mean like anytime short. I mean like as a super late bloomer in the Hall of Fame, right? So he might make it one day, but that doesn't definitely take anything away from the fact that he was one of the best offensive linemen during his prime, and I'm very glad I got to see his career. And I'm very glad that he got himself a Super Bowl ring. Now on to the wide receiver, Jordy Nelson, a.k.a. the White Lightning, right? This guy, come on, guys. I mean, we all know he was the white guy that was kicking all the black guys' butts at wide receiver. He was the white boy that was running routes like a black dude. This receiver, Jordy Nelson, is probably the best wide receiver to play the game after this point. So Jordy Nelson obviously has only played for two teams, being the Packers and the Raiders. Obviously with the Raiders he didn't really do much, and it just comes from the fact that he didn't play the full season. Also, he didn't really want to be there. He kind of just went there because he didn't have anywhere else to go. Not only that, the Raiders were willing to pay him more, so you can tell that his heart is with Green Bay, and it will forever be with Green Bay. So it wouldn't surprise me, guys, that both these guys might get one-day contracts with Green Bay and get to retire on the Green Bay Packers organization someday in the future. Like that's just the truth. That would probably happen in the future, especially Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson is gonna retire and go into the Ring of Honor for Green Bay. I don't care. This is gonna happen. And so if you look at Jordy Nelson, you look at his statistics, right? Throughout his entire career, Jordy Nelson has amassed 151 games played with 102 games started. He's amassed a total of 613 receptions, 8,500 yards, a 14-yard average, and 72 touchdowns, with his longest being a 93-yarder. So, in Jordy Nelson's career, his catch percentage has never gone under 60. with his worst one being in 2017 with Green Bay at 60.2. His best catch percentage has been the one he had in 2009, which was early in his career, but I mean, which 71%. But if we're talking about his most effective during his prime, would be 70.8 in his 2011 run with the Green Bay Packers, where he had 15 touchdowns. So here's the one thing about Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson was a red zone threat for Green Bay. He may not have gotten all the pretty yards, but he always had the touchdown numbers. And he just knew how to get the touchdowns for Green Bay. In his prime, again, he had 15 receiving touchdowns with the Green Bay Packers. And I believe that was when they won the Super Bowl. So Jordy Nelson is definitely going to be a Ring of Honor inductee for Green Bay. He has one Super Bowl. He has one Pro Bowl. He won the 2016 All-Pro Comeback Player of the Year. And he won the 2016 Pro Football Writers Association Comeback Player of the Year. Now, I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly if it's Pro Football Writers Association or something like that. But nevertheless, he was retired at age 33. But he definitely is a fan favorite in Green Bay. And not just Green Bay, Wisconsin. He's beloved by the fans. So, will he make Hall of Fame? One day he will. One day he will. Because Jordy Nelson is going to be well known forever. I don't care what you guys say. And I know that this is putting a racial card to it, but this is a positive note. Any Caucasian man to play wide receiver is going to be compared to him. Their success is going to be compared to him and Julian Edelman. Now, Julian Edelman obviously has the trophies, but Julian Edelman doesn't have the big play capability that this guy had. Okay, that's the difference. He's not gonna be a first ballot. No way. It's just not gonna happen. But he will be considered many times. That's just the truth. Because Jordy Nelson's always been a stand-up guy. Everyone loves him, and he worked hard his entire career to go from being a second round pick to becoming a star receiver in the league. Okay, and his stats, his prime stats were not bullshit. All right, like his prime stats were not bullshit. Every time the guy played, in his prime, every time he played 16 games, he had 10 plus touchdowns. So that's definitely going to be a big thing for him, and I really hope that Green Bay signs him back for one day, have him retire under the 87 and in the green and gold. And I really hope that I even hope TJ Lang, because those guys won them Super Bowl. They were pivotal players to win them Super Bowl. So I hope that Green Bay brings them back, have them retired under the green and gold, and that they get enshrined in the Green Bay Packers Ring of Honors, because especially Jordy Nelson, because he definitely deserves it. The White Lightning guys, Jordy Nelson, and the extremely talented offensive lineman TJ Lang. Those two guys retired this week, and I'm really happy to have been able to see those guys' careers. Jordy Nelson had the greatest step step back move that dodged all the guys. That is the shit. I'm so proud of these guys to be able to come in and do what they do. And that's a wrap, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of Endzone to Endzone, and keep up with the NFL news, because I will. Lastly, guys, if you guys like this pod, please hit the like. If you guys didn't, hit the down button. but please don't. But always remember to subscribe, because I will keep doing this and I will keep grinding, and I want you guys to keep grinding, because this is what life's about. So peace out, guys.